Hello, and welcome to Magic is Gathering. My name's Kevin Harlan. I'm a creative producer for Card Kingdom and the host of this show. And we are streaming from, Card Kingdom Studios in my house because we are under lockdown. Under stay-at-home orders, I should say. We are allowed to leave our houses for essential business and all that. We are located in the state of Washington. Seattle is where our fulfillment center and a couple of our stores, Mock Sporting House, are located. On March 25th is when we went under the stay-at-home order. So tomorrow will be officially 30 days that our state in particular has been under these restrictions. I don't know how it has been for you, our viewers. I hope that you are all safe and healthy today. And I hope that as much as possible you're staying sane during all this and enjoying time with family and taking a step back from the grind of daily life as we figure out what's next. It's a scary time. None of us really know what's coming, but together we can gather together. We can't do it physically right now. We can't get together to play a game of Magic across the table, but we can gather together digitally and support each other, play games online, and make sure that our community is thriving and continues to gather during this time. So again, I hope that you're all healthy and safe out there. And I'm very excited to introduce our guest today. Today we will be having a guest from Mock Sporting House, Jorel Miller, who is a friend of mine and is actually a boss of mine from a little while back. Hello, Jorel. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kevin?
Good, good. Welcome to the show. So, full disclosure, obviously, Card Kingdom is also the same company that owns and operates Mock Sporting House. That is our physical locations around Seattle and soon to open in Portland. So, I just wanted to give that disclosure. We know each other pretty well. Jarrell and I worked together for years before he moved up and became the director of Mock Sporting House, and before
Oh,
I left the restaurant and earned his ire forever by switching over to marketing. So, Jarrell, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and about Mock Sporting House.
sure. As Kevin mentioned, my name is Jorel Miller. I'm the director of Mock Sporting House. I've been with Card Kingdom for, going on 8 years now. I have most of my background's in hospitality. I spent many years in hospitality in the Los Angeles scene before relocating up here with my family to Seattle about a decade ago. Mock Sporting House has just been a fantastic fit from a hospitality perspective. It's what we do, right? We're all about creating an environment for our guests, and yeah, it speaks a lot to the strengths that I gained throughout my career. So I couldn't have thought of a better landing place than this. And Mox is just one of those places that's, in my opinion, one of a kind. There's a lot of LGSs out there, a lot of great LGSs, but
Yeah.
Mox has a special place in my heart. I've watched it grow from, Cafe Mox and Ballard, bit of a smaller scene back then, to some of the bigger things we're doing now, which is it's really exciting. So
Yeah, so if you could tell us about the few different Moxes that exist or will soon to exist.
sure, sure. Yeah, our flagship store is obviously located in Ballard, which is a neighborhood in Seattle. It's just great, cozy, warm environment in there. And then we decided to do something a little different. So we expanded over to Bellevue, and that's across the lake, still here in the greater Seattle area, King County. This was our first opportunity to do full service dining, where our Ballard, our flagship store, is a bit more of a cafe vibe, like I said, warm and cozy. So Bellevue, big dining room, big play space, large tournament area for when we're able to gather again.
Yeah.
And, we saw all the great things we're able to do with both locations and decided to take that and spread it down to Portland. And so Portland's kind of a mishmash of both stores, full service dining. Tournament center is rather large, but maybe not as big as Bellevue. Has a bit more cozy spots in it. And then we're trying something new there with full service spirits as well. So,
Nice. Well, I grew up, you know this, but I grew up in the
yep.
Portland area. So when I heard that Card Kingdom was bringing, and Mock Sporting House was bringing a new location to Portland, I've known for probably a year and a half now. And oh man, every day I'm just so excited knowing that we'll be able to share that with a lot of my friends and family that are still down in the Portland area and with our community that are out there in Portland. And I won't ask any questions because we talked about this before, and I know I'm not supposed to poke at it, but I know that we do have a fourth location on the way. We're not ready to announce any of that information, obviously, right now. We're just focused on our current operations and our current employees. But for those of our fans out there, believe us. One of these days, we're gonna have a Mox in your neighborhood.
Yep. Definitely exploring options.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
we've talked a little bit about the restaurant, but how big of events does Mox Boarding House run?
Oh gosh, it's all over the board, right? From learn to plays and small minis events to major marquee Magic events to philanthropic events that support our our how do I best say this? Engage. It's like our arm that gives back to the greater community, and these are massive events for us each year. So yeah, it's all over the board from 10 people to 100 people, really.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
our
know. I have swung by the Bellevue location on some of those pre-release nights, and I'll either play or pop my head into the tournament room, and there's nothing like, peeking your head in there and seeing a room full of 100 to 120 players
Yep.
cracking into a new set for the first time and really being able to enjoy that and share that camaraderie with each other. And it makes me feel really, it warms my cold, dead heart to know that we're able to provide that spot for our customers. LGSs across the country provide a really amazing gathering place for our community, for the Magic playing community, for Warhammer 40K, D&D
Yep.
players, other tabletops, card games, and miniatures. And I agree. There's something about Mox Boarding House that I don't think I've seen from anybody else, and is really special. But you know, uh, beyond that, there's something special about LGS as a place for us all to gather and game and kind of share that shared experience of gaming. Um,
Totally.
so obviously, when Jay Inslee, who's the governor of Washington State, released a stay-at-home order on March 25th. I think he released it on the 23rd actually, but it went into effect on the 25th. That had some serious implications for our stores. Can you talk a little bit about how that impacted Monk's Boarding House?
Yeah, it was. This is a tough conversation, right? We first decided to stop hosting events in our space, and this was before the order was initially given as a means to attempt to slow the spread of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And then as we got an issue to close the restaurant, that was a big impact for us. And so the restaurant actually shuttered a couple weeks before the stay-at-home order went into effect. That was by decree of Jay Inslee, our governor, thought that it would be best for bars and restaurants and whatnot to shut down. And then we did our best to continue serving the community and practice social distance guidelines for a couple weeks there. We hung in, and we had a lot of great people coming out to support and stocking up on games for the impending self quarantine.
Yeah.
And and then the order came through. There was a lot of tears and a lot of laughs, sharing stories, and getting ready to just hunker down and doing our best to remain positive. Right, this too shall pass at some point. And while the impact has affected everybody differently, our teams have stayed really strong and really positive. And yeah, it's been tough, but we're looking forward to getting back into the community and slanging games.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I know with Card Kingdom operations, it's a little different since we're not a public-facing business. We were able to continue to operate with a severely reduced staff with skeleton crew so that we can continue to ship out some small number of orders. And I know
yep,
that's been really difficult for those teams as they continue to practice social distancing in our warehouse space and throughout our fulfillment center. But that's not necessarily a possibility for the employees under your division, where
fortunately
we
not.
do have to close down the restaurant entirely. It's not safe for people to gather. It's not safe for people to gather in tournaments, to the point now that even our retail locations are closed down. I know that had to have been incredibly difficult for you to, put that number of employees on furlough, on standby, until we are able to safely reopen and start rebuilding that community. Can you speak a little bit about how Mox Boarding House is continuing to support those employees?
Sure. So our leadership teams at the stores that consist of like a restaurant general manager and a retail manager, they've stayed on a few hours a week to kind of help answer questions, stay in contact with employees that are on standby, and make sure everybody's feeling good, all things considered.
Hmm.
They're also helping us, shore up some, work that we couldn't otherwise do under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
And so our managers, and just to back up a little bit, when you mentioned how difficult it must have been to furlough all these employees, I really got to throw a big shout out to our leadership teams at all of our Mox locations, Portland included. Um, they had the brunt of that responsibility, and you know the look on everybody's face as news started to come in was hard, and
Yeah.
they were able to really navigate that. And so I wanted to back up and really throw a big thanks to them if they're listening or if they watch this later, that they
Yeah.
should know they did a fantastic job, all things considered. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, we are definitely trying to stay committed to you know keeping our employees on a positive tone while the landscape is forever changing. And yeah, so
Yeah, and across all of Card Kingdom and Mox boarding houses, any employees that we do have to put onto a standby or furlough program or shared work, this is something that I'm really proud of Card Kingdom Mox Boarding House for. The business is continuing to provide benefits for those employees for as long as this takes because while we may not be able to open our doors to our community right now, and from a business standpoint, I think that's a difficult spot for everybody in our country and across the world to be in right now.
absolutely,
But I'm proud to say that Card Kingdom Mox Boarding House is holding the health and safety of our employees above anything else.
absolutely.
We are going to wait until we know that it is safe to reopen our facilities. We're going to do it in a slow way. And most importantly, we are providing benefits for those employees that have been furloughed through this entire period because we want them to be healthy and safe, and we want to try to keep the stress as low as possible for those employees. I have been speaking with our HR department a lot lately, and I hear all the hard work they've been doing to help keep
Oh boy,
as smooth as possible process for those employees as they apply for unemployment and other benefits through the state and through the United States. So yeah, it's a tough time for everybody.
yep,
I think a lot about my restaurant family that I worked with under you. I think a lot about our retail family at all of our locations and how hard this must be for them. But I also think a lot about our community because that community, we don't do this because we think that selling magic cards and board games is going to make us all millionaires. I don't think anybody opens an LGS thinking they're going to become a millionaire. We do it because
absolutely.
we see the value in gathering together and sharing games and having that offline experience that you can share together. So this, I think, especially for your team, must be a really difficult time because it's not possible to have that offline experience. We're having to kind of pivot those experiences to an online platform as much as possible.
Yep,
Um,
well said.
so yeah, we had a few questions in chat that I want to touch on real quick, and then we're going to pop
Sure.
over to something a little brighter. So first off, Dolly Parton World asked if anyone can help them. They're new to Magic, and they have a pretty good amount of cards, but they don't know what to build. Jarrell, I know that you've been playing Magic for a while. You consider yourself on the amateur or less than sub amateur level.
That's
It's not
very
your
kind of
jam.
you to say it that way. Yep.
What sort of resources would you recommend if somebody was looking to get in further into Magic, as far as like how to build decks or who to touch out or reach out to kind of get that information?
Oh gosh, there's so many great resources online. I hate to be the one that just defaults to like a Google search, but
Yeah.
there are so many great resources online. There really is. And
Well, I will
um,
plug MTG Goldfish, who is an
there you
affiliate
go.
of Card Kingdom. They have a lot of great deck lists online, but also I'm sure that Jarrell has a lot of employees in his division that would love to teach you how to play Magic.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we can't do that right now, but once we are able to open any of our mock sporting house locations, seriously, I've gone in there some days and just been like, "Hey, Eric, I want to build this deck. I don't know what else goes into it." Or Henry or Flynn. There are so many amazing workers at your locations that are so knowledgeable. So it's really that's a great resource to tap, of course,
Yep.
once that's at the point.
Our flagship store does a great learn to play series, which is
Mm,
perfect for players like me or
yeah.
players that are looking to get into it. And we of course, since we aren't able to host those live, we're hoping to be able to find a way to bring that content to people online once
Yeah.
we're able to open back up in some capacity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stay tuned.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, there.
Yeah, and so last question from chat. That you don't need to address this one because I can answer it. They're just
Okay.
asking if Card Kingdom orders are being sent out. I can tell you that yes, there is a limited, small amount of orders that we're continuing to be able to process. We are using a skeleton crew. We are practicing safe social distancing. We've rearranged our entire process to make this as safe as possible for those employees, and operating under the guidelines that Washington State has released to make sure that we are protecting them and protecting our business as best we can during this time. So if you put in an order on cardkingdom.com, there is a chance that it may get sent out. We also, in the interim, I should say, it will get sent out eventually. Once we are able to open up our operations, there's going to be a flood of mail. I don't look forward to being to that mailman seeing the
Nope.
cart ready to go. But Ikoria pre-sale did go live this last week, so if you're interested in
Good.
pre-ordering Ikoria, you can do so at cardkingdom.com. Or if you are so inclined, you can wait till Mox Boarding House reopens. You can go into those stores. You can talk to those employees that you love to pick their brains as far as what cards are great, and you can buy that directly from our spaces or any LGS across this country. I really recommend, please support your LGSs. It's important that we keep that part of the Magic ecosystem thriving, healthy, so that when this is all done, I've got somebody that can help me build decks.
Very nice.
So, on that note, we are going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to have a little fun and have a debate watch. So
Ooh.
this is a short game that we designed for our local game show series, where Jorel and I we picked a Planeswalker ahead of time. We know what the debate topic is going to be, and we are going to argue for 60 seconds each why that Planeswalker is the best at the topic. The topic today is which Planeswalker would create and run the best food truck. I figure this is
Yeah.
appropriate. Jarrell and I both have some restaurant experience. I've seen Jarrell kicking a lot of butt in the kitchen, so I imagine he's going to get way more in depth on what that food will be than I will. Yeah, so we'll each have 60 seconds on the clock to make the case for our Planeswalker. I today have chosen Garruk. Jarrell, who have you chosen to stump for?
I have picked the Wanderer.
Ah, very mysterious. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we'll each have 60 seconds. I'm going to go first because it's my show and I know a little bit more about Magic, so I'll give them some time to think about it and also poke
Appreciate
holes in all my arguments. After which, we're going to have 60 seconds to rebut each other's arguments a little bit and allow you, chat, to decide which one of us is correct. Or maybe neither one of us are correct. If you think there's a better answer out there, go ahead and feel free to throw it into chat as we're arguing. And if you get enough votes at the end, maybe you can win this internet points thing, because that's all you win. So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I will start off arguing for none other than Garruk. See, Garruk would be the best food truck creator and owner operator because he is, he's the cursed huntsman. He is so good at tracking animals. It's like an evil Steve Irwin. He goes out, he shows you this big, beautiful beast on Ikoria, and then he kills it, he chops it up, and he serves it to you right out of that food truck. He can track any of these things across the multiverse. Even if they're planeswalking, he'll be able to track that animal down and bring it to you. So it's like those food trucks that have like the alligator, or the crocodile, and emu, and all the really weird stuff, but it's going to be magical, mystical animals that Garruk has slain and chopped up for you. He's got a giant axe, so he doesn't even need really much in the way of equipment. He's got his chef knife on his back every day. He can come in and just chop up those animals. But most importantly, so Garruk was cursed with the chain veil, and that curse was lifted when he took a bath in the cauldron of eternity. Now here's the thing. I'm not sure that he ever gave up that cauldron. So he's got a cooking pot ready right there. My last argument, I know I'm out of time, is you've tried Garruk's chain veil. Next up, check out his oxtail.
Oh, fantastic.
All
Oh,
right. I apologize, chat, for going over and also for that argument because that was something.
no, I
All
like
right. So, Jarrell, I'm going to start the timer when you're ready of why
I'm
you
ready.
think the Wanderer would create and run the best food truck.
So here's what I'm thinking, right? And you alluded to it at the beginning of this. It's the mystery. Think about how often or how many times she's traveled through the multiverse and how much information she's picked up along the way, which lends to a wealth of different cuisines. She's also so skilled with that sword, much like your argument with the axe, but a sword is more precise, right? And she could go through her mise en place or prep with super amount of ease. You said I would get a little technical. Well, technically speaking, most of our folks in the kitchen, when you've got hair like that, you got to have headgear on, a hat, whatnot. She's got a really stylish hat. She's keeping that hair. She keeps that face covered. During this time where we don't want to transmit anything, she's really got that on lockdown. You know what I mean? Additionally, just think when you go to, and she's got a clever name, right? The food truck is a dash of wonder. Okay. I had to throw some cheese. I am dad. The dad jokes come out. You never know what you're going to get. It is mysterious. It might be sushi one day. It might be tacos the next day. It might be double pan-fried ginger brute the day after that. You never really know. So I believe ultimately the Wanderer would be a fantastic, fantastic food truck owner operator. And just think, in order to stay focused, she can't take her eye off the prize because if she sleeps, she's going to just disappear. So she's on it. Work ethic is
okay. You know what? Your time's
point.
up. I gotta say, for somebody who doesn't know a lot about magic, you know a lot about the Wanderer, more than I did actually. And I don't know how to poke holes in that argument, but chat, I bet you do. So I'm gonna put 60 seconds on the clock. Chat, you can vote whether you think Garrick is the right answer, or maybe it's the Wanderer on the other side, or maybe there is another Planeswalker that we didn't bring up that you think would be the best case. So please feel free to throw into chat whether you think that is the case. You can make your own argument. Whoever we see the most votes for is going to win. And those of you who are watching this on Facebook, you can throw those in the comments as well. I'm going to get extra points, or Jorel will, depending on who wins the YouTube competition. Or throw in the comments if you think that there's somebody else. Teferi has won 4 weeks in a row, so maybe Teferi is the answer. 60 seconds on the clock. I don't even know if I can poke holes in your argument, Jorel. I mean, the Wanderer is it's pretty good.
I felt pretty good about it. I gotta think. Go ahead, please.
Well, nobody knows who she is, or they are. I mean, I assume it's a she. But
Sure.
Does she have her food handler's permit? And I would like to see it.
That I honestly don't know. I would assume with all of her travels, she's picked up the necessary documentation to work this food truck.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
she probably has a food handler's permit for 11 different planes.
Right. But from my perspective, I'm thinking your Planeswalker's got to have a gigantic food truck. What is that like on a mission?
He is about 8.5 feet tall, and he's 450 pounds. So yes, this is more of a food semi, but that is why it would be amazing. He has so much room for food. Also, he's chopping up giant Ikoria beasts right now for you to eat. He needs that room. He needs that prep space.
Fair. One is hearty, one is delicate. Totally get it.
Yeah. All right. So, chat, we've got about 3 or 4 seconds left on the clock.
Wow.
I'll give you another 10 seconds while I ramble on real quick to see who you think is, and I'm just going to keep stretching out time until I get some more votes for Garrick. Hopefully, it just kind of...
I see what you're doing. Not only is it his stream, but he's in control of it all.
Chat did have a good point. Oko, recent Planeswalker from Throne of Eldraine, does actually create food tokens as part of his card. So I feel like we may have missed that opportunity. But now, Oko. Yeah, but you know who is working for Oko? Garrick. That's right. Garrick was working for him. Who do you think was making those food tokens? I know it's really up. And I also know who won this competition, and it was definitely the Wanderer. So congratulations, Jorel, for not knowing much about Magic. You've shown me my place, and I appreciate it. And that place was a food truck that the Wanderer is going to be. Does she planeswalk with the truck? Because that's pretty cool, actually.
I mean, I would imagine so, right? Dash of Wander coming to a neighborhood near you. Or, sorry, a multiverse near you.
Oh, all right. Well, with that, a little bit of levity. I appreciate you having some fun with us today, Jorel. I want to kind of bring it back and talk a little bit about how our community can continue to support Mox Boarding House and support local game stores during this time of isolation and self-quarantine. so that when all this shuts down and we're able to start gathering back together, we'll have those friendly local game stores healthy and ready to reopen.
Sure. I would say that depending on what neighborhood or city that you're living in, just pay attention to your LGS's local threads. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great things under the current circumstances. Additionally, there is a tremendous amount of publishers out there that are giving LGS's credit. If you purchase the game direct from the publisher and mention your LGS in the purchase. I don't know if we can do this, but maybe Kevin can throw up some information of that after the fact, or you can look for it on our social media platforms as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to not only support those local game stores in your area, but also, keep the magic, no pun intended, of new games coming into your household.
Yeah, and what better time to play those board games with your
Yep.
family? My wife and I have a pretty big wall of board games. We've played them all so much in the last month. We're just like, play this? No, no. It's great that there is still this opportunity, and through that, these distributors and these game designers are sharing that profit back with your local game stores, so that we can make sure that there's a space to go out and play those.
Yep.
I
So
also
you're
want to.
lucky. I tried to teach my family Forbidden Desert the other night, and
So
20
good.
minutes in, they busted out Sparkle Kitty, and that's what we ended up playing. So just had to throw that in there.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
But I also want to throw a little thanks out to Wizards of the Coast, because I think that they've done a really great job of creating some incentives and programs to support those LGSs. If you don't know, you can play Friday Night Magic on Arena right now. It's not the same, obviously. You're not in a Mox Boarding House or in your local game store slinging those cards, but you are able to, through social media, connect who your local game store was, and Wizards of the Coast will provide some really cool upgrades for your Arena decks, whether those are sleeves or cool little icons you can put on the side of your play field. So it's really great to see across the board a lot of these companies taking some steps to identify what parts of the community are really lovely, and it's been great to kind of hear all of them share this, and for us all to share the love, because it's a hard time. I think it's important that we all just focus on the positive and support each other.
Absolutely.
Chat, well, specifically, Chris Cornejo says, "Hey, Sparkle Kitty is great." So,
It is a cute game. I enjoy playing it with I have all daughters, by the way, so I enjoy playing it with my girls. So,
yeah, well, I know you're a big 40K fan, so I'm just really looking forward to the day that you can introduce them to that, and then the Sparkle
try it.
Kitty will just be gone, or maybe they'll paint the Blood God could have a rainbow maiden. I mean, we don't know.
We're
There's
trying.
no
I'm
rules.
trying. So.
Well, on that note, to focus on the positive, I wanted to take a moment for both of us to share some stories of some positivity that is coming out of this experience. It's a really scary time. A lot of us don't really know. None of us know what a week or 2 weeks from now it's going to bring. In the state of Washington, it looks like we have reached that point where we have leveled off. We've flattened the curve, and we're starting to see a reduction in transmission. That doesn't mean we're past the worst of it. We'll have to keep measuring that stuff. But we wanted to identify and highlight some of those stories of great things that are coming out of this. I have a real quick one that I wanted to share with you, Jorel, and with our audience, and that is today is Earth Day. It snuck up on me, the day,
Happy
not
Earth Day.
Earth, because it happens to be right under my feet. But this Earth Day, I don't have any data to back this up, but I believe that it may be the best Earth Day for planet Earth in our lifetimes. Because of the restrictions put in place across the globe and across the United States, people aren't traveling, which has cut down on the amount of emissions and air pollution that is released into the air. Factories are shut down, which has cut down on the amount of pollution that is released into our waters. There are dolphins in Venice canals. The air in China is cleaner than it's ever been in decades. Across the U.S., we're seeing dramatic reductions in air pollution. So, that may turn around when things reopen and we all start driving and factories kick back on. But I think it shows the power that we have, that by making strategic choices and by trying to respect Mother Earth and respect nature, we are able to make a dent. And that's another scary thing that's on the horizon is climate change. And I think this shows us some hard evidence that we can do something. together, if we get band together, we can have those effects. So that broad one. But Jorel, do you have any stories of some positive stuff that's come out of this experience?
Yeah, I think the one thing that comes to mind is just watching the communities come together and support one another, and even to tie it back into our team members across all of our Mox locations. They're maintaining their D&D campaigns via streaming services. They're jumping on Discord channels and keeping the games alive. They're testing new ways to potentially bring tournament formats to streaming services for our community. And I just think it's just rad to see everybody making the best out of a not so great situation, and coming together digitally in a time where we can't come together person to person. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that note too, Mox Sporting House, both of our locations that are open right now, or were open, not kind of Portland since that's still coming. We have streaming that would go out of those spaces every week. We have a really wonderful community of casters that do Legacy in Ballard and do Modern in Bellevue. They were streaming those tournaments every week and sharing that out with our community. Obviously, those tournaments have stopped, but that community has been really lovely and banded together. They are doing streaming most of the week. It's tough, obviously, with individual schedules, but they're making it happen, either playing Paper Magic over webcams and sharing that out on our channels on Monday nights, or we have a few casters that are doing arena streaming or Magic Online streaming on Thursdays to still keep those communities entertained. Now is the time that we're looking even more for distraction from everything that's going on, and also, there's a lot of really cool Ikoria cards that just came out. So please check out those communities and those streams. They will just make me really embarrassed about my Magic playing level skills. But man, they're great, and they really love to explain how it all works. So you too can help build, whether you're into Legacy, Modern, or maybe you just want to know how those cards are impacting those formats. That's a really great place to go, and that community is amazing. Well, before we get to our final questions, Jorel, chat does want to give you a shout out for your apocalypse look. I like the hair growing out, and the beard is really nice. Do you want to share that story real quick about how that all came about?
So our retail manager in Bellevue, for those who don't know, his name's Andrew Sagal. He's got just what I would consider the beardiest of beards.
Yeah.
And when we were getting ready to shutter everything down, I had made a comment that I wasn't going to cut my hair or shave my face until the stores reopened. And I'm going to try and stick to that. Those that do know me or look me up online, not that there's much out there of me, I generally don't have any of this.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good way to measure the time. See, yesterday I was posting in a work chat and I was like, yeah, it's Thursday. This is great. My boss was like, Kevin, it's Tuesday. And I was like, So it's great that, this is a good way for you to kind of measure the passage of time as that hair grows out. Hopefully we won't get to the full Andrew Sagal level beard when this is all done. I don't think that that's a good idea. So I'm glad to know that we won't get to that point. So in closing, we got a couple last questions that, actually, let me switch over to this screen here, Jorel. So Jorel, these are questions that I ask all of our guests. First off, what food or restaurant are you most excited to get back out to when all these restrictions are relaxed?
Gosh, I'm lucky enough to live in the greater Seattle area where we just have a phenomenal culinary scene. So there's a ton of great places I'd love to eat. If I'm answering for the family, Din Tai Fung, I'm looking forward to eating some dumplings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man, it's like our spot, family-wise. Otherwise, I'm going to hit some local spots, get me some tacos.
Yeah.
Dumplings and tacos.
The last shameless plug of the stream, too. What food are you most excited for from our upcoming Portland location?
So I've had a handful of the items created by our head chef down there, Chef Santino. He has a Peruvian-inspired pork sandwich with like radishes and fried yams and this like green mayo and this vinegary salsa. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just knock your socks off. And then good. He did demo something for me. I don't know that this will make the menu, but I have to throw it out there because it was just that off the wall. But it was flaming hot Cheeto dusted calamari and shrimp. I can confirm it It's awesome.
Yeah. So
So
chat,
you,
this is your opportunity. If you just get on Twitter and on Facebook and just tweet at us, Facebook us, Instagram, I don't even know all these verbs. Just say you want those flaming hot Cheeto calamaris. I don't even know what they are anymore. Please do that because I want to try them out. That sounds really delicious.
yeah,
Or don't, because that also sounds like a lot of work for Santino every day to keep
yeah.
those breaded. Yeah, great. So last question. What public event, whether it's Magic or board gaming or miniatures or a concert, it doesn't have to be specific, it can be a general, but what public event are you most looking forward to being able to get back out there when things reopen?
So I'm definitely looking forward to the events in our store. I'm really bummed that we're not going to be able to do the gauntlet this year. That was an event I look forward to, just as the way of supporting our communities. But for me, selfishly, I go to a lot of hip hop concerts, and there's an artist in particular named Greaves that I kept buying tickets for some of his shows out here. And then every time I'd buy a ticket, I was required to travel for work, and I'd have
Oh,
to miss the
no.
show. And so I'm looking forward to be able to go out to shows again.
Nice. Yeah. Well, one last note is, I mean, I am also on the Engage committee. I'm kind of shifting off of it, but I will tell you, you probably don't know this, Jarrell, but we are still hoping to do a gauntlet this year. So the gauntlet is a
Excellent.
big event. It's a charitable event that Engage, the charitable arm of Card Kingdom, puts on every year, where we gather together designers and board game creators from across the greater Seattle area. Bungie is our current #1 champion. They won last year. Also comes and plays with us. They play board games in a day-long marathon of gaming to see who is the best at those games. And meanwhile, they're raising a lot of money for really, really amazing causes. Over the last 7 years, 8 years, 7 years,
It's been a minute.
Engage has raised over $600,000 for those charities. So, we don't know when it'll be. We're still trying to figure out what that's going to look like, but we're really hoping that we're still going to be able to run those programs. And a lot of charities across the U.S. are still hoping to just delay those events. It's really important to support those charities now more than ever.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah.
in closing, Jarrell, thank you so much for coming today to share with us a little bit of the Mox Boarding House story of how things are going and how we as a community can help support our LGSs
Thanks
of
for
small, medium, or whatever size. And thank you, audience, for coming and joining us today. It's a tough time. I hope that you and your families are safe and healthy. And it's not impossible for us to continue to gather as a Magic community. We have to do it online right now, but let's gather together and support each other. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
All right, take care.